Yeah. Hey. Hi. Yeah, I would like to talk about what it's like to be trans. Because I myself have some things to share as a trans person. And I think it's important that people around the world can see that there are others like them. I'm a female to male trans man. I haven't had my gender affirming surgery yet, and I have not taken testosterone. I wish to talk a bit about the trans experience because it can be hard for people who aren't trans to get an idea of how it is and how difficult it is. So I wish to share my experience, so hopefully I can help others, other trans people and other people to see that we're just like the rest of you and we just want to be accepted for who we are. Being trans is extremely difficult because you go against the norm and you will get judged very harshly. People will think that you are making things up when you say that you are X gender. But this is far from the truth, because we can't choose to be trans, none the more less than you can choose to be a boy or girl or non-binary. You are born with it. And I have to make a disclaimer between gender and sexuality. It's very common that people mix these up. There are two different things. Gender identity is, as I see it, the legal, biological, and the gender expression of a person. While sexuality is, well, who do you like to sleep with or love or such, straight, gay, bi, or other orientations. The thing is, I'm also bisexual, and that adds another layer of difficulty to the existence of being trans. The hardest part I have dealt with so far is getting misgendered and people using my dead name. And I don't think, I want to explain how that impacts me. Because you read online about misgendering and it's like a meme, and it's just, it doesn't work like that in reality. It would be like I walked up to you and said, if you're a cisgender male, and I would go up to you and say, you're not a male, you're a female. You would protest against that, wouldn't you? Because your innate sense of your gender identity is male, a cis male, which means that your gender is, as you got assigned at birth, is, the gender you identify with in all possible ways. And now imagine you walk throughout your day and people keep misgendering you because they only see the physical part, they only see the outside and not the inside. And it's about respect both ways, because everybody wants to be met with respect, and it's no different from trans persons. As a female to male, I can say that most people haven't really heard of us because we try to blend in most often. We just aren't as vocal as the trans femme people. Not that it's something wrong with that. but I think it's valuable for other female to males, trans persons, and of course other persons, any person, to see a video like this and feel that they're not alone. Because that's the worst part about being trans, is that you feel misunderstood, you feel alone, and like you feel like nobody understands you but other trans people. Even if you have to like, I went for 32 years hiding myself. I repressed myself, that I was trans, that I was bisexual. And let me tell you, I don't wish anybody to go through that. It's not worth it, and I spent half my life living as the gender I'm not. And I'll never get those years back. So I want to tell this to, if you're in a closet and you're afraid of coming out, please don't be. Because I can only talk about my experience. I come from an Asian family, and you know how Asian families are. They're very traditional, very strict, they have very clear gender roles. I didn't fit in that. And fear ruled me, and now I'm paying for it. I paid the price of being not me for many years. And those years were terrible. Repressing myself and thinking something was wrong with me when it wasn't. If I had known that my family would be as accepting as it was when I came out as an adult, I would say to my younger self to don't be afraid, come out. And I got, when I came out to my mother, she didn't react well. And I had to take a trip to the psych ward because I got suicidal. And I think it's important that we can talk about how serious it is. I mean, you would say maybe it's a stereotype. You're trans, you're suicidal, you have worse mental health, but it's facts. Because trans people often have to suppress themselves because they don't want to lose the persons that mean the most to them. Because they are afraid of not being accepted. I was like that. And it hurts. It's indescribable, really. And I don't want any young trans people to go through the same thing I did for years. Denying yourself happiness, denying who you are because of your own mind, maybe, that is telling you that people won't accept me. I wish to tell you, if you're thinking of coming out but need that extra push, that the people closest to you are most often the most supportive, because they love you and they want you to feel well and do well. And I think it's important that we remind ourselves of that, because often we tend to focus on the negative stuff. It's so much easier to say the worst possible outcome rather than the good one. And of course, some poor trans people get thrown out of their home. I was afraid of that happening to me. That's why I didn't come out when I was younger. That was another fear. And I find that very, very sad, that if people claim to love you, your family, you have only like one family, and they throw you out for being you, then that's terrible, and they are in the wrong, because being yourself should make them the happiest, because you are your authentic self, and they want you to be happy. And well, I'm no psychologist. I can just try to explain how I see it. Maybe someone out there can relate. I mean, like, let's talk about practical stuff. And I mean, I'm pre everything. I'm packing, and I still can't go to, say, the male's bathroom because I don't pass. And I don't want to go in there right now because I don't feel ready, because I don't pass. Now, passing is very individual and subjective. Some trans people, they are very brave and they walk in there, right, and do their thing, and that's very brave of them, I find. But for me, it's all about comfort, and it's not a race. You have to take steps in your pace, I find, at least, because it's a big thing to, like, come out and such. And it can be tough. It is very tough to be authentic, to be your true self. And that's the thing. People like to say, become your true self or be your authentic self, but it isn't so easy in practice. And for me, it's like two ways. I don't want to make cis guys or other guys uncomfortable if I walk into their bathroom. I mean, I can only relate that if I was a girl and I was in the girl's bathroom and a boy entered, I would also be very uncomfortable. And it's about respect too, at least for me. It's about respecting your fellow human beings. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. I wouldn't feel comfortable, and they wouldn't feel comfortable, and it's a process, and everybody does it different. There's no right or wrong way to transition. But I find it maybe easier if you pass, of course, because then you get to avoid all the questions when you correct people and say that no, it's actually he, and it's actually I'm a guy, and my name is IQ, and this is me. And the thing is, I have found that coming out at work is also very hard. You're not coming out once, but you're coming out every day, several times. And every time you get this fear of not being accepted. And it's a terrible existence, because you can't really be confident and yourself, because you're afraid of the other party not accepting you and rejecting you, or worse, maybe they could hurt you just because you're trans, or they start asking invasive questions that they never would have asked a cisgender person, like, well, what surgery are you doing down there? How do you have sex? How do you pee? And it's not funny, because why? It's curiosity, I think, because it's a novel experience, and people are curious. It's natural, but I find it it can be very, they act in a way that wouldn't be accepted if there were cis people, and that is not like, you wouldn't ask such things to others. So why would you do it to a trans person? And I mean, the information's online. If you were that curious, you should look it up yourself. That's often what I say when I'm tired of the questions. And also the constant questioning. Are you sure you want to transition? Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And I know that it's of concern, really. It's really often not that they think it's dangerous or something like that. They just a misguided concern because they are scared that the process is irreversible and that you may have regretted going through the physical transition. But I want to tell young trans people that it's your life. You have just one life, and you cannot live it for others in that way. You can't let others rule you that way, because you will not be happy. You deserve to be who you are. And despite the contrary, I mean like people may react badly. I've been there. But guess what? Then you don't need them in your life. You need to surround yourself with people who love you for you, just like you love them for them. And if they can't accept you as who you are, maybe they don't deserve to be in your life for a while. If they relent, because I found that, for example, when you let time pass, time does things to people. Time makes people reflect, and we all have limited time on Earth. And I think that for most people, they realize, especially if it's family, that, well, you really only have one family. And for those who can't have a family because they don't accept you, you can find a surrogate family out there amongst the community, the trans community, or other friends. Sometimes it's like that, but then your life will be easier. Sometimes blood relatives don't help, and you have to ask yourself, what do I need in my life to be happy as a me, who I am? And surround yourself with people that lift you up and not pull you down, and that includes family. So that's a key takeaway I wish to communicate to the world, that yes, I am valid, you are valid, everyone is valid, regardless of how they identify. Because we all have to look after each other, or the world is a dark place. And there's so many small acts that one can do to support each other. I mean, for me, I get euphoric when someone uses my name. It makes my day. And just hearing my name makes me feel validated, just as it does for the opposite party. Because it means that they see me and respect me. And they don't have to like. I am sure there are people who really don't inside accept me, and they don't like maybe trans people for some reason. There's transphobia. But you have the opportunity when you meet a trans person to actually get an insight into it. You can ask your questions to that person, of course respectfully, without being invasive, because then maybe some prejudice you may have against trans people may change, and maybe you will think that I had the wrong idea about trans people, because here I am with a trans person with first-hand experience to talk about how it really is in reality. And I would find that very valuable, because even if I was transphobic, I would be civilized enough to listen, and actually maybe the trans person makes me think a bit about how judgmental I am being and why. I think it's often because of fear, because when you can't place or categorize people, something happens inside you that makes you feel unsafe. Because humans naturally like to categorize people into neat boxes. But when something is out of the norm, it's scary. And you're like, how should I address this person? Are they friendly? Are they sick in the mind? And you become unsure how to act. And the best way you can act in that case is to meet others like you want to be met. Treat people with respect and they will respect you back. And sometimes I get so tired to correct people that I let it slide, and this is a lesson for young trans people also. It's good that you correct when people misgender you, but choose your battles, because it will happen a lot. You can mitigate this by, for example, having a name sign on you with your preferred pronouns, and you can point to that if you are tired of using your voice to tell people that, no, I'm this. I find that worked, at least in the beginning here at my work, for example. And you have to be patient, and that's the hardest thing. You have to be patient with the people around you to get used to the idea, to get used to calling you slowly my name. It's like picking up a new habit. You don't run before you can walk or crawl. So it's the same with expectations on how accepting your environment should be. And some people accept you faster than others. Some need some more time to digest it. And that's okay, as long as they treat you with respect. Because you deserve the best, right? And with gender dysphoria, there's a lot you can do to make it a bit easier for yourself. Now, I will speak about female to male because that's what I am, and this is just how I found how I can handle it. I don't like seeing my face in the mirror, for example, or I don't like hearing my voice recorded like now. But the thing is, you have to divert your attention somewhere else. And you can do gender-affirming things to make you feel a bit better about yourself. I, for example, I avoid mirrors. When I shower, I close my eyes to avoid seeing parts I don't want to see. That's one way you can handle it. You can always close your eyes if you can't, like me. I can't stand seeing myself on the camera. But and then you can, as a trans man, you can listen to heavy metal, aggressive music. I find it's great to make me feel more manly, because it's raw and powerful and such. Great music. You can work out, And I find working out one of the best ways to handle gender dysphoria for female to male. Because not only are you taking care of yourself, but the act of lifting heavy weights feels very manly. And not that women can't do it either, but it's a bit different when you're a trans man. And you'll know what I mean if you try it. It's easy to start, to get into a routine. You just have to find a workout regimen that works for you. And the thing is, you just have to follow it, the program. Follow the exercises, and you don't have to think. And it makes it easier to exercise and divert your thoughts, because you have to concentrate on lifting the weight, for example. And try to interact with other guys. It depends on how comfortable you are communicating with other men and being in male-dominated spaces. Most guys are nice, and if you notice that they don't want to talk to you, well, then you don't have to talk with them. And I find it so valuable to be surrounded by guys, because, well, hey, you're a guy too, remember? And being one of the guys is very affirming as a female to male person. And that's also very important, that you find guys who accept you for who you are. It can take a while, but keep trying to find guys that accept you as you are and treat you with respect. Just as you treat them. And if a guy is being an asshole, well, fuck him, ignore him. You have better stuff to do than arguing with someone who doesn't want you anyway, as either a friend or lover or whatever. Just move on to the next. And the thing is, when you as a trans guy are around guys who accept you, something wonderful happens. You get used how to interact like a male, a cis male. And because, if you're like me, I was lucky to grow up with only brothers, and I had a very masculine presence in my life. Basically, I was surrounded by guys, and I was lucky for that, because it made me unconsciously pick up on stuff like guys do, that they do without thinking. But everyone isn't that lucky. And here's what you can do. If you can find guy friends, great. Now you can ask them stuff. And it's okay to ask, because they know you are trans and they treat you with respect. And guys love to help other people because it validates their ego. Because men are people of action. Not that women aren't, but in this context, guys can be very helpful. They love talking about how they can solve stuff, because their mind is very linear. And so you can ask your guy friend things that you wouldn't dare to ask if you were the opposite gender, because you are in a position that you're one of the guys and you're so comfortable with talking and communicating with them that you can ask them anything, and I mean anything, and they will answer, because they want you to feel good, because they want you to feel validated and be treated like one of the guys, and they get a nice ego stroke. So there's a win-win for both of you. You learn the intricacies of being a guy, and they learn a bit about you too, and you get validated in your gender expression and your gender. So that's a very good tip I have for other female to males. Surround yourself with guys. Can be cis guys, gay guys, any kind of guy. And I think it can go the same way, the other way around. If you're male to female, surround yourself with females. Get female friends, make female friends. Because it gets so much easier to feel seen and validated when you surround yourself with people that accept you and want to help you become the one you're meant to be. I will cut off this video now because it's getting kind of long, but I will talk more about being trans in future videos, and I hope that a bit of my story and my tips could help other people out there. You are not alone. Remember that.